Tonight on The Final Play, the Saints rookies made their debut in black and gold, albeit just for rookie camp. Get to know the class, led by the electric Brandon Cooks.
Man, it's been wonderful. Learning the playbook out there, having fun, and doing what I love to do. So it's been good.
Plus, veteran guard Ben Grubbs is in studio to talk about the veterans' off-season activities. One main goal for the downtime is to recover. Get to know the man with the healing hands in a special report. Plus, we're previewing the NFL committee's decision for Super Bowl 52. The Final Play starts right now.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is The Final Play with Fred Hickman. Brought to you by your Southern Quality Ford dealers and Oceana Grill.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the broadcast. Also, welcome to the Saints rookie draft picks and unsigned free agents, including Brandon Cooks, only the 7th wide receiver in the history of the franchise to be drafted in the first round. Cooks has a 4-year contract as of today, and he's ready to show the Saints they used their pick wisely. Here's Sean Fazand.
In moving up 7 spots to draft Oregon State wide receiver Brandon Cooks, Saints head coach Sean Payton saw a player that can do a lot of different things on the football field. After seeing him up close on the field for the first time this weekend, that feeling is only stronger.
He is versatile. He's obviously a receiver. And I think we can line him up in the slot, line him up outside. He's got, a very good skill set with regards to his acceleration, his speed. He catches the ball well.
Cooks is catching on to the playbook quickly, mainly because his new offense as a pro strongly resembles the one he starred in at Oregon State.
With our formation, some of the play calling, the terms are exactly the same. The offense is similar to my offense back at school, so learning the plays is coming quick.
Cooks is not shy about his belief in his abilities. He knows he can be a playmaker for this offense, especially with his new head coach, who just so happens to also call the plays.
The mind that he has for this game and his offense, and his coaching ability and how creative he is, and put guys in position to succeed in his offense, is just very exciting to be as a receiver.
And he's also someone that's not limited to just offense. Cooks also wants to make an impact in the return game as well.
You got to come here as a rookie to expect that you're going to play in the special teams game, and I want to. So they're pushing for that, and I'm also pushing for that for myself.
Cooks needs to make the most of this weekend because he won't be back here for a while. Because Oregon State uses the quarter system, he won't be able to rejoin the team until the last week of OTAs. From Metairie, I'm Sean Fazand for The Final Play.
Jeff Duncan, of course, covers the Saints for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. And Jeff, the Saints said they were looking for that receiver, that guy who could take the top off of the opposing defense. Did they get him in Brandon Cooks?
Well, Cooks is definitely one of the fastest players in the draft. Fred, he ran a 4.33 40 at his pro day. That's big-time speed. He's not a big guy. He's 5'9", about 190, but he's very quick in and out of his cuts, and I think that's a skill set that the Saints lacked. Now, whether he's going to be completely a deep speed guy remains to be seen, but I do think it's something the Saints offense desperately needed. Marcus Colston slowed down a little bit. The injuries have taken their toll on him over the years. And Joseph Morgan, who was supposed to be that deep threat, is coming off a major knee injury, so we don't know how he's going to recover. And Robert Meacham is going to be lucky to make the team, frankly. He's not the same deep threat he was before, so they needed that kind of guy. And Cooks, from all accounts, is a playmaker. He led all of college football last year in 20-yard-plus catches. He had 32 at Oregon State. So he's shown that he can make big plays at the college level. Now we'll see if it transfers to the NFL.
Okay. Well, we were all sitting in the room after the pick when Coach Sean Payton came out, and he was just beaming about this guy. And he said, look, I didn't even have to use a visit to know that this is the guy we wanted to draft.
Yeah, and he talked a lot about his intangible qualities, his leadership, his mental toughness, his competitiveness. And I think that the competitiveness is the thing that stands out about him. His coach, Mike Riley at Oregon State, told me he's the most competitive player he's coached at Oregon State. Mike sent a lot of receivers on to the NFL. And we all saw what happened last year when the Saints lined up against Seattle, how they got intimidated by their secondary, kind of bullied at the line of scrimmage. Now, this is not prototypical of the kind of guy you'd think would beat that kind of coverage because he's not very big in stature, but he's so quick and so elusive. And Sean Payton's so good at diagramming these X's and O's and getting those cornerbacks off of the receiver at the line of scrimmage, I think they've got a real gem in Cooks and a guy that can effectively counter some of these coverages that the Saints are seeing.
Now, obviously, you move up from 27 to 22 to get this guy, so you want him to contribute right away. But how does he help the balance between the run and the pass? We're always going to help with Graham, but between the run and the pass.
Well, I do think he's going to play right away, and that's unlike some of the high picks the Saints have used in the past on receivers. We know Robert Meacham didn't play for almost 2 years. Devery Henderson took a while. Not the case with Cooks. He's going to be out there in the mix, in the rotation early, and I think it's going to help prevent some of these teams from creeping to the line of scrimmage to stop the run now, because they got a threat now over the top in Brandon Cooks, and that should help the running game.
All right. Now, for a big look at the rest of the 2014 draft class, here's Garland Gillen.
Stanley Jean-Baptiste or Stanley Jean-Baptiste?
Well, I pronounce it Jean, but mostly everybody pronounces it John.
Now that the name is clear, or better explained, one thing that was obviously apparent is Stanley Jean-Baptiste's length will be a huge asset for the Saints. His 6'3" frame will make receivers' life rough come Sundays this fall.
It helped me cover up big receivers, good matchups. Receivers hopefully like Calvin Johnson, Mike Evans, who just went to Tampa Bay, Vincent Jackson. So I think it helped me a lot with helping the team.
We got a really fine talent here in Baptiste. He's going to be really special, but he's working with, to me, and it's easy, the best secondary coaches in football, and, in Wesley McGriff and Andre Curtis. I can't wait to see how good they're going to make this kid.
Former Alabama safety Roman Harper signed with the Panthers this offseason. Vinny Cincinnati hopes to follow in his footsteps at the same spot.
During the bowl game, he was out there when I was injured on the sidelines, and we talked a lot. And I haven't talked to him since then. But when we were on the field together, we were talking about what Alabama does compared to New Orleans, and we were talking about how similar it was already. And it's something really special.
Cincinnati tore his ACL in October of 2013 on a special teams play. 7 months later at camp, it was hard to tell he's still in recovery.
It's kind of a mindset. You can either let it hold you back and let it cripple you, or you can use it as motivation. And I chose to use it as motivation. And a lot of people doubted me, and a lot of people thought it would take a long time to get back. But I feel great, moving around, feeling awesome, being able to do whatever I want to do, cutting, opening up. Feel awesome.
When we saw his second pro day, or the first time he was able to work out, we thought that it looked pretty healthy, and it wasn't a complete workout, and yet it was one in which we saw enough to feel like it was progressing. So we'll be smart though, and anytime you have a surgery like that, it can take up to a year, but we feel like he'll be full by the time we start training camp, and for the most part, with what we're doing out here, he's been good.
With the Saints, Garland Gillen, Fox 8 Sports.
All right, Jeff, give me your thoughts on the second pick of the draft for the Saints, Stanley Jean-Baptiste. Good size, 6'3", and it's become very popular to say you can't have enough good cornerbacks in this league.
No, you can. The Saints learned that last year. So many injuries at that position, and aptly named Jean-Baptiste. He needed to be in New Orleans with that name.
Right.
Big guy, 6'3", the rangy type of stature that Rob Ryan likes in his corners because they play so much bump and run. I'm not sure he's going to make much of an impact early on. He's a very raw player. He used to play wide receiver, so he's still developing as a cornerback. But that's why they brought in Champ Bailey. They brought in a veteran guy who's they hope to milk a year or two out of Champ Bailey at this stage of his career. So it gives them the luxury to take a guy like Stanley Jean-Baptiste and bring him along slowly because he does have such great potential. But I wouldn't expect him to be on the field nearly as much as their first-round pick, Brandon Cooks.
Okay, now let's take a look at the linebackers, both inside and out. Seem to meet some needs there in Kari Fort and Ronald Powell. Good value for these players?
Well, each brings a skill set and a redeeming quality that may get them on the field. The first thing with Fort, you notice he's a very athletic guy, and he's very good in coverage. And that's an area the Saints have struggled with at linebacker. They haven't had a guy that drop into coverage in their nickel packages, and I think that's the role that Fort will play early on. And Powell is a guy that can rush the quarterback. He looks the part. He just hasn't translated it to production. And I think the Saints feel like with some good coaching, their staff, they can maybe bring that out of him. But both these guys, I think initially are going to be on special teams if they play at all. They're going to be more down the road type of contributors.
They did not draft a center. Of course, Brian De La Puente's gone now to Chicago. Tim Alito has been doing some work there, but he's a guard by trade. What are the Saints going to do at that spot?
I think they've got to bring in a veteran. You know, they already brought in John Goodwin, former player. He knows the offense, knows the system, and I'll be surprised if Tim Lolito is the only guy there going to camp. They've got to get some competition. It's a critical position. They want to get bigger and stronger in the middle. That's why they let Brian De La Puente go. I think they want to strengthen the interior pass protection, and so Goodwin fits that mold. And I also think they may bring in even another guy, and I don't think they're settled at that position at all.
And of course, there's the draft after the draft. Once it's over, they start hitting the phones for those undrafted free agents. Any names jump off that page for you?
Yeah, actually, Brandon Coleman, a big receiver, 6'5" receiver from Rutgers. It's a lot like Marcus Colston, same kind of stature, could be a red zone candidate if he finds his way onto the roster, but a developmental player and a guy that I think most people thought would get drafted in the 4th or 5th round. I think he's got a great shot to make the team.
And overall, when you take a look at the Saints draft, how would you grade it out?
Well, right now, I mean, always a few days afterwards, it's hard to say.
Right.
It didn't knock my socks off. It really didn't. After you get past the Brandon Cooks pick, I'm not sure any of these guys are going to contribute right away. I think these are down the road type things. So I'd have to say it's a C right now. I like the move up to get Cooks. I like they were aggressive, and they had the luxury to do it. This is a deep roster, Fred. There weren't a lot of guys after you get past the 3rd round that were going to make an impact on this team. So let's give them a C right now. We'll see let's judge it in 3 years.
That's fair enough. Jeff Duckett, Times-Picayune, NOLA.com. Thank you so much, as always, for your insights.
My pleasure, Fred.
Coming up, more Saints talk with guard Ben Grubbs in studio to talk about who will be snapping the ball for the Saints next season, among other things, and also how good this offense can be for his 3rd season here in New Orleans.
You're watching The Final Play.
Joining me now is Saints guard Ben Grubbs. And Ben, first of all, let me have your take on the draft class for the Saints, the undrafted free agents, all the new guys coming in. Just your outlook on things going into the OTAs and training camp.
I think this year's draft was a successful draft. I think we filled a lot of voids that we had. The guys coming in, right now they're wide-eyed, but luckily they had a chance to get their feet wet. They had rookie minicamp this weekend, and I heard that things went well. So, I'm pretty sure they're excited to be a part of this this team.
The center position has been a bit of a question mark. I know Tim Lolito's name's in the mix. You expect a lot of competition there as well?
I think competition is good for everybody. Yeah. Nobody's job is really safe because every year, they look to to upgrade per se. So, even myself being a starter for 8 years, I know that there's somebody behind me that is hungry and that wants my position. So I must always be on top of my game. But to answer your question, Lolito is a great athlete. He played guard for us 2 games, I believe, last year, and he did a great job. We won both games, and he has practice at center position. So I'm confident if the coaches decide to put him in there, everything is going to move as planned.
Now let's talk about your charity. You got the softball game coming up, and at Zephyr Field, that's going to be on the 21st of this month, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Tell me a little bit about your charities and what the money's going for, first of all.
The Ben Grubbs Foundation supports single-family homes. I started in Baltimore, where I was drafted, and I put on this event, the softball game in Baltimore, and it did well for us. I teamed up with the Boys and Girls Club up there in Park Heights, and the money that we raised, was a blessing for that Boys and Girls Club. So when I came here, I looked to do the same thing. I wanted to do the same thing, and so last year was my first year. Everything went well. We were able to bless a lot of people with the money that we raised. But this year, I'm looking to do bigger and better things, and we're looking for a good turnout. Of course, the proceeds will go to the Boys and Girls Club here of New Orleans, as well as some nonprofit organizations back home. I help support autism back home in Montgomery, Alabama. It's an organization called Kelsey's Place, just anything I can give back. I'm not really tied to one thing, but my focus is on the Boys and Girls Club here of New Orleans.
Thank you very much for coming by. May 21st softball game, and that's going to be at Zephyr Field, so be sure you turn out for that. Ben Grubbs, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Still to come, to some Saints players, he's got the best set of hands in all of football, and he's never caught a single pass. Stay tuned for Sean Fazan's special report on healing hands.
You're watching The Final Play.
For professional football players, every week of the NFL season is a grind. They not only have to withstand the physical pounding, but also be able to reach their peak performance on the field with regularity. To get themselves ready to go, many Saints players look to law enforcement. Sean Fazan explains in Healing Hands.
The Tower of Power, Jimmy Graham.
Pro football players are modern-day gladiators who inflict and absorb more pain than most athletes. No one questions the brutality that happens to players from play to play. Saints cornerback Keenan Lewis has been in the league for 6 years and has learned one universal truth about life in the NFL. No one is ever 100% healthy.
Keenan Lewis is down. He got hit pretty good there.
So getting himself ready to withstand the physical grind week in and week out is what he calls the most underrated aspect of his job.
It's like eating a healthy meal. You need that guy or that woman who could come in and find those points that you need to be loosened up.
For that, Lewis turns to what some say is the best set of hands in New Orleans. They're the hands of Aaron Hansel, a former U.S. Marine who served in the First Gulf War and 20-year veteran of the Louisiana State Police. Hansel is a licensed massage therapist and parlayed his passion into a full-time side gig as masseuse for several Saints players. And it all began after a chance meeting with wide receiver Robert Meacham at Sonic Boom Academy.
I was going to different trainers in the city, just letting them know who I was, trying to let them know, what I was capable of doing. He advised me to go talk to this guy. When I got there, just so happened Robert Meacham was training, and he was having a problem with his neck, which was hindering his training. I was able to, on the spot, work on him and alleviate that, and he was able to train that day. So from that day, Robert Meacham was like, hey, I'm a believer.
Meacham hasn't missed a game due to injury with the Saints since. And since that meeting, Hansel's reputation and black and gold client list has grown. Meacham, Lewis, Curtis Lofton, Mark Ingram, Nick Toon, Ben Grubbs, Akeem Hicks, and Marcus Colston all regularly use his services. In fact, Colston brings Hansel along with him on road trips. Hansel hasn't missed a game since 2009.
I've been able to travel with him to every game, help him, get him stretched out, get him, what we do before the game, able to work with him, and he says it helps out a lot. So obviously the type of, money you spend to bring me there, it needs to work. So, but we've been doing that now for 5 years now.
For Hansel, the perks are nice, but to have his services in demand can also be demanding. His phone can ring at any time of the night.
This is not people that have, I guess, even normal 9-to-5 jobs. They have a lot of commitment on the field as well as off the field. So I have to be available. Case in point, yesterday, I worked 12 hours. I'm also a state trooper. I worked a full shift yesterday, got off. I saw 3 players, all in increments of about 2 hours each, so it put me at about 6 hours. So at the end of working with the last player, I didn't show up to Mark Ingram's house till midnight. We worked till 2 in the morning.
And he can't just be reliable, he has to be versatile. Football players come in all shapes and sizes. A running back like Ingram may require one style. A cornerback like Lewis may require another.
Keenan has a big chest. He don't like me to do this. But
This hurt right here. Don't try this at home.
So we get in, get that pec major, then we bring it to the deltoid.
The results speak for themselves. In Lewis's case, he didn't miss a start in 2013. But for Hansel, the ultimate moment of truth came in 2012 when the Saints hosted San Francisco when a big shot to Colston put all of his hard work to the test.
I believe the guy was Deshaun Golston that hit him high.
his whole body twisted and torqued when he hit the ground, and he laid out. It wound up being an intercept. San Francisco caught the intercept, went in for the touchdown. I didn't even remember seeing the interception. I just remember him being laid out on the field, and I was like, man. But we always said that all the work we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, it's going to be one hit that is all going to be worth it for that one hit. And I guess the best moment I felt was after that game, he texted me and told me that was that hit.
And for Hansel, that's what it's all about. A lifelong Saints fan and St. Aug grad, his satisfaction comes from working with top-notch athletes and helping them become all they can be.
I love it. I mean, and what, you know, the part of me that's a fan, like I said, I've been to every game for 5 years since Super Bowl year, so who can boast that, you know, that I've been able to, and the Saints have been doing well. I've been able to contribute in, you know, whatever fashion. So, no, I definitely love it.
I call him a miracle worker, so I'm glad I had the opportunity to work with him.
Hansel has also worked on LSU's Lyle Collins and very soon to be Tiger Leonard Fournette. Now, his specialty may be big-time athletes, but he has dipped into the entertainment ranks. Just recently, Hansel worked on none other than Sir Paul McCartney. Back to you.
Coming up, what chance does New Orleans have of kicking off the tricentennial celebration with a Super Bowl? We're previewing the decision of what city will host the 52nd annual Big Ball Game.
You're watching The Final Play.
New Orleans commemorates its tricentennial in 2018. And what better way to celebrate the occasion than by hosting another Super Bowl? New Orleans has submitted its bid to the owners, who are now one of 3 finalists, along with Indianapolis and Minneapolis, the latter of which will have a brand new stadium online by then.
Any stadium against a brand new stadium is a difficult match, but fortunately it's not all just about the stadium. We want the Super Bowl to be the kickoff event of the 300th anniversary of New Orleans. So that would be significant both for us and the NFL.
The owners are meeting in Atlanta this week. We'll see if New Orleans will win its record 11th bid to host after a vote on Tuesday. Our Sean Fazan will be covering that and all the other matters of importance coming out of those meetings beginning tomorrow. That does it, though, for this edition of The Final Play. My thanks to Ben Grubbs and Jeff Duncan for stopping by, and of course to you for staying up late with us. I invite you to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and check in often at fox8live.com. Our next newscast begins at 4:30 a.m. Good night.
The Final Play was brought to you by Southern Quality Ford Dealers and Oceana Grill. Fox 8 is proudly locally owned.